Welcome to episode 15. That's right, we've made it to 15 Rewind Heroes. I'm your co-host, Greg Compton.
And I'm your other co-host, Dan Gaines. This is going to be your weekly video podcast where we talk everything from film, television, music, anything Greg and I deem cool.
That's right, and we've kind of been doing shorter episodes lately, and we're going to try to keep with that, but we were cutting out the newsreel and other things. We've got some cool stories to talk about.
We're back to our regular format today.
Exactly. So you want to get into the newsreel?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. John Williams scores again. That's right, the 84-year-old Williams, who is already signed on to score the upcoming Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg, announced last week that he will not only be returning for Star Wars Episode 8, but also the latest entry in the Indiana Jones franchise. So, yeah, okay, so I think that's what Dan thinks about that. It's, I agree, thumbs up. So
I can't wait.
I know, I just hope for good health and everything else and some inspiration, because some of those are further down the line. I would say the interesting thing, two of them aren't any surprise. The scoring Ready Player One is interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know, they mention the Imperial March in the actual book. It has a moment there. So there are things that,
stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's in the wheelhouse of so many movies he's scored. But there is so much, like I've told you before, I think you need to add almost some of that 8-bit music stuff going on. But maybe that's effects. I don't know. A huge part of that movie's soundtrack is actually going to be songs from late 70s, 80s. I mean, you're going to have Oingo Boingo's Dead Man's Party. You're going to have some Rush in there. You're going to have some Billy Idol, Duran Duran, stuff like that. That's going to give that feel. So you just, I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting blend. I wonder if they're going to do two albums, the score with John Williams and then maybe package it with a soundtrack.
It sounds like they might have to do that.
Yeah, or sell them separately.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. And if you guys are interested in what could be on the actual soundtrack, not the score part, Ernest Cline, the author, has already put out what his official playlist is, so you can look that up online. I think people have even put it on Spotify, cultivated it, as well as the playlist for his second book, Armada. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Awesome.
So you're all in for John Williams.
I'm all in. Let's hear more. Ever since the Force Awakens soundtrack, to me, it tells me that John still has, John, like we're best friends, still has it. He has these main themes that are unbelievable and iconic. And I'm actually almost more excited that he's doing Ready Player One because based on everything you've said, it sounds like a movie that could have an epic theme to it. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with.
That's right. And now also, while we're talking about films and movies, I don't know why I just said that. We always talk about films and movies. But we've talked a lot about things like Bourne and all these military and like CIA kind of movies. You got some news on another one that maybe we haven't been paying much attention to?
Yeah. Tom Cruise is back at it again. Paramount Pictures has debuted Jack Reacher, Never Go Back trailer on Entertainment Tonight. This latest entry is based on author Lee Child's 18th book in the best-selling Jack Reacher series. The film is scheduled to hit theaters later this year in the month of October. Well, Greg, I actually haven't seen the first Jack Reacher. I know that you have, but we did watch the trailer for the sequel. What were your thoughts on that?
I'm actually looking forward to it. I was pleasantly surprised by the first one. I know a lot of people that had issue with it, had issue with the character because I believe in the book, and I haven't read this particular series, but he's supposed to be more hulking, menacing, very Schwarzenegger, Stallone-ish kind of guy, and you get a 5'8" actor. But other than that, I mean, I thought it worked well, and this looks good, and Kobe Smulders is in it, and I don't know, I think it looks interesting. It's got a very, the others seem more mystery than this is, so it definitely has this Mission Impossible feel. You know, she takes the job. He was military police. Ahead of it, he walks away, which you can get from the trailer. That's what happened in the first one, too. But it seems like the person that's taken over that job is getting framed. So kind of got a Mission Impossible feel. They're really trying to boost this to make it a franchise. They've got 18 books. They've got enough source material.
Definitely.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Overall, I haven't seen the first one, but watching this trailer, I was interested enough to want to go back, get caught up, and get ready for this new film.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'll say is I didn't like the first view we get of this film is through the Entertainment Tonight's narration and showing the trailer through their eyes. That was a little weird. Just release the trailer. We're in a whole new world. We don't need you guys to explain what we're watching.
Yeah, and maybe it's because they're skewing to an older demographic, maybe. I mean, why they think the place you need to be is Entertainment Tonight when you can find so much online.
Everything's online.
Yeah. That's
like us.
Like
Rewind
us.
Heroes.
Exactly.
But speaking of police, what else you have for us?
I didn't do it. Well, speaking of police, Beverly Hills Cop may finally be moving forward. After working diligently to get the script and elements just right for a fourth installment of the Beverly Hills Cop series, Paramount is now set with directors to go ahead and put Eddie Murphy into Beverly Hills Cop 4. What do you think?
All I hope is it's not Dr. Dolittle returning.
Yeah.
Let's get Eddie Murphy back to what we all fell in love with him. And this franchise is by far his best, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm all
Golden
about it.
Child, you got to remember Golden Child.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I can't pronounce the directors' names, or we probably would have said them out loud. Not gonna lie, they were on the paper. We didn't know how to say it. So I've read that they are diehard fans of the series. They love it.
Good.
They appreciate what the tone's supposed to be, and to get Eddie Murphy back and try to get him relevant again. This is the franchise you do it. What do you think?
Yeah, there's definitely a line where Eddie Murphy went from Eddie Murphy Raw, Saturday Night Live, Golden Child, Beverly Hills Cop, these kind of films.
Norbit.
To Norbit, Nutty Professor, Haunted Mansion, and all that, Daddy Daycare. So let's bring back to form Eddie Murphy. I think it's about time.
I think it is too.
I only want to know, will you put Judge Reinhold in this again?
That'd be
I just think it would be great. Maybe the guy that played Balky from Perfect Strangers, he was in one of them. I don't know. It's ripe for doing. It's not going to be a blockbuster. It's not going to be a big thing, I don't think. But
it might shock you though. You never know.
It could. It could be fun. It could be fun.
Hey, one thing's for sure. We've been excited about Stranger Things.
That's right. Speaking of Stranger Things, Netflix has released a trailer for its newest original show, Stranger Things. In the series, a young boy vanishes into thin air. As friends, family, and local police search for answers, they are drawn into an extraordinary mystery involving top-secret experiments, terrifying supernatural forces, and one very strange little girl. The series, set in Indiana, is a love letter to the 80s classics that captivated a generation. Dan?
Well, first off, I didn't know this was set in Indiana. We're from Indiana. That's cool.
Exactly.
But I didn't know a thing about this. Greg ended up sending me a note. He's like, dude, you got to check this out. We have to watch this series. From the moment it starts, the tone is there.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I was taking a trip down memory lane with an E.T. or Stand By Me or maybe all of the above.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a show. It felt like I was watching a trailer to a film. So the fact that there's going to be several entries, July 15th can't get here soon enough. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm pumped for this. I just hope you can't tell what's going on in this movie.
No.
So I'm hoping the story works because obviously nostalgia is the vehicle for this. But I mean, it screams Amblin films completely, and it has the same look, tone that Super 8 had, which was definitely going for that. Freaks and Geeks television series by Judd Apatow was going for this kind of look. I mean, so they've got that nailed. Yeah. I'm curious about the Indiana thing. That'll be cool. I mean, yeah, there's so much going on in this trailer. You have no clue where it is. It's hitting all the buttons for that young, kind of that, Flight of the Navigator or whatever you want to call it. The kids on a bike that know more than the adults, and something's going on. But I don't know. I'm thinking it's good. Winona Ryder's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe a good resurgence for her. Yeah, we will watch a few of these, and that'll be a future episode. We will definitely be talking about this.
It's only about a month away, so.
Exactly. Well, that's some stuff that we're actually excited about.
Yes.
Should we talk about some stuff that we really weren't that excited about?
I guess we may as well.
All right, let's go to the rewind. All right, well, we're aware this movie has been out for a while, but I wasn't honestly that excited to see it. But I did finally get a chance to check out Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Dan had seen it before, and we know that though it's already been out for a bit, some people were kind of waiting till this Blu-ray release because they were iffy about it. Now it comes out in a month, so I went ahead, took a look. Dan's already seen it. We thought we'd kind of just talk about it. I mean, we've already talked about X-Men, we've talked about Civil War right after they came out, so maybe we should kind of tack this into this whole summer blockbuster thing. We probably should give it a little, I don't know, just a bit of a review, kind of give our thoughts on it. So let's start with overall impression.
Sure.
What'd you think?
Well, Greg, I don't know what's wrong with the masses because I was extremely excited to get in the theater opening weekend and spend my hard-earned cash to sit through this 2.5-hour debacle. It was a joke. Okay, overall I did not like it. There were so many things that didn't make sense, things that feel like we've seen 1,000 times in a Batman film. We could literally talk for an hour over our overall thoughts, but for me, it just didn't work.
Right.
I found myself not caring about Superman. The brightest side for me was Batman. That's where I left the movie thinking, you know what? I'm excited to see where Ben Affleck takes this Batman character in DC's world.
Yeah.
What about you?
complete disappointment. The first scene when you start to get the origin story of Batman again, because we haven't already gotten that over and over and over again. It just, and the thing is, I'm an editor for television, and when it jars me, there are so many things thrown in here, and when they jar things like, oh, I guess what is this? And then a few minutes later, oh, I guess it's a dream sequence because nothing made sense there. Or all of a sudden, oh, now I'm in the Batmobile, I'm doing this. Okay. I mean, they took, I talked about X-Men had vignettes stitched together. That's what this had with no proper transitions on some of these scenes. So it was really jarring. It was hard to follow. The story it was 2.5 hours, and that's about 45 minutes too long for really all they really wanted to tell in this. But let's break it down into certain things. Yep. First of all, portrayal of Superman. What was your thought on that?
Not
that it's the first time we've seen him play a part.
And that's what I was going to say. overall, to me, I do like, as a Henry Cavill, I like his portrayal of the character.
Yeah.
I think the Superman character has always been an issue for me anyway.
Right.
So I already go into these films a little bit kind of not loving it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He was fine. He was the same guy we saw in Man of Steel.
Right.
I didn't feel like I learned much more about the character. The character wasn't developed much further for me.
He was the B plot in this film.
100%.
That was the problem.
You could tell they were excited they had the rights to do another Batman.
Yeah, so we know that he was basically the afterthought in the movie, to the point where they even moved his name second. Yeah. But let's talk, the main focus was Batman, Batfleck. So I thought, like you said, really bright spot. He was excellent in the role. There was bad writing, but I would like to see what they do with a standalone film. I was okay with it. The gun thing, I know people complain.
I know that bothered some people. It didn't bother me because I didn't read the comics.
I would say the biggest moment where he's shooting people, though, is a dream sequence. So he never actually, though the times you do see it is when he's in the Batmobile or whatever, the Batwing, and it's blowing up cars, you realize there are people in those cars. Yeah. A lot of times he uses fists, so it wasn't, he still did it, but it wasn't as blatant as I think people started to freak out about. So yeah, he was good. And I loved how they made him a brutal Batman. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. For me, that worked. I think he did a really good job. It might be one of my favorite portrayals of the character, or Bruce Wayne. So I like that. Well, they also bring in Wonder Woman. Thoughts on Wonder Woman?
So I actually think Gal Gadot did a good job playing the character.
Yes.
The part that I have a problem with is it didn't feel necessary for this film. It was like, hey, did you notice we put Dawn of Justice in the title? We are thinking about doing a Justice League film. It didn't need to happen in this movie. We didn't need her there.
No.
I think she does a nice job, and I even think that probably her individual solo film could be pretty good.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel right in this movie.
It was weird, like, oh, you're about 100 years old, but we're not going to go into why until this other film. And we'll just go with it. Yeah, that was my problem with it. But I think it looked better, I thought, and she played it pretty well.
Yes.
Speaking of that, they brought in other characters that just in small cameos. And there is the Flash, to which I say, no. The series is good. All of a sudden, having a long-haired hipster with the Fisher-Price My First mustache, I'm sorry, maybe they change it for the film, but that is not the Flash. And the Aquaman scene, okay, that's, I guess, interesting that you can see he has some power underwater and, he is strong enough to take out a camera. But, now the sonic boom in the water is kind of cool, but you didn't get enough of that. This cyber, okay, I get it, he's destroyed, now we're building him, but what's the technology? It's just magically building him up. Okay, and my biggest thing with that was every character, all that information is on Lex Luthor's drive. He instantly has little icons for them.
They match their icons.
Yeah, if these characters are around, wouldn't you know? Like the Flash will see an icon. Is Lex all this? Do they say, hey, we found this drive. That's a cool logo. I'm going to steal it and use it for myself. I'm going to call myself Wonder Woman now. I'm going to call myself the Flash.
It just goes back to what I said about Wonder Woman. They were so worried. Marvel has this company so scared on what they're going to do in the future that they felt the pressure to say, hey, look, we're setting up a cinematic universe too. Check it out. Look at all the characters that are going to be coming out.
Yeah.
It didn't need to happen.
It didn't. And when I saw those things, and I saw like the extra edition of the Flash and the sequence, which is really strange, you couldn't even tell what was going on. I don't even think it was all his outfit.
I don't think general public has a clue what that was.
No. Am I the only one that by the way, we're obviously tons of spoilers. When the spear, the kryptonite spear is dropped in the water, and then she's trapped in the water and can't get there. My thought was that you weren't going to have, and this maybe isn't a good thing to the film, I didn't think Superman would save her. I was thinking that there'd be some bad writing. All of a sudden, Aquaman would like pop up because there's water.
Save the day and
because
leave.
had heard about whatever was going on in this town. I thought he was going to pop up out of the water and break through, and then they'd all be fighting. Which again is like, wow, that's really bad writing to have that good timing. But I was expecting it at that point. That actually wouldn't have been bad because when Superman leaves that fight. And then they cut away. You're just assuming that Wonder Woman is still fighting by herself, essentially, because Batman can't do anything. It's a doomsday. So I just she's just taking it on herself. I mean, he was gone for like 5 minutes.
No, I agree.
So I don't know. Speaking of the villains, I thought Doomsday was almost pointless, and I thought
hell, it was showed in the trailer.
I mean, they just randomly I'm going to cut my hand and put a dead body in here and make a creature. I know exactly what it's going to turn out to be. And it's also not going to attack me, Lex, while I'm in the same room as Superman just because he doesn't like that guy more, even though he was just born. He doesn't even... So much wrong. And Lex, your thoughts on Lex, and I'll give mine.
Yeah, I like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor. I think he does a really, really nice job. And kind of what we talked about off camera, if that was kind of the direction that I guess the tone they were going for with this Lex Luthor, I actually thought he did a pretty decent job playing it.
Yeah.
Did I like the portrayal of the character? Not really.
Yeah.
I think that, to me, he didn't seem menacing enough as far as, did I actually think he was a threat to Batman or Superman?
No.
And it just kind of felt out of place again. And I think that was, for me, a lot of the things. Everything just felt like, well, what if we make Lex Luthor different than he ever was in any other movie? Yeah, let's put that in there. And then we'll have cameos from 8 different characters. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
He didn't work for me.
It's like Lex is more millennial this time, which great. You're trying to go after Zuckerberg, a Silicon Valley kind of person.
Right.
My thought is if you're going to do that, go for, it's got to be messy. It's not a guy that inherited, he might be smart, but he inherited daddy's company. Daddy wasn't good to him, all this stuff. So now we've got daddy issues. Again, never works in some of these films. But my thought is go model him after an Elon Musk, but make him bad. I know everyone maybe thought you do that, you're doing too Tony Stark because people think.
Maybe.
Elon Musk is essentially the real Tony Stark if you think about just inventions and the ability and the money. But that would have been more believable, take a dark spin on that. If you want to apply a Lex Luthor to today, than this millennial little whiny brat who steals Soup's mommy because that's the only, and has a kitchen egg timer because he can't afford anything better than that. I mean, check it on an iPhone, man. I watched something. I don't know. Overall, I just thought it was sloppy editing, sloppy writing. The plot holes galore. And we have not, we've kind of ripped on X-Men, but other than that, we really haven't ripped on anything on this show. But this was just, I don't know. I mean, there are so much wrong with it. And here's the thing. Someone needs to take these movies away from Zack Snyder because everyone is getting worse. Now, he's done good films, but these are not those films. And there is no humor in these whatsoever. It's so heavy-handed, it's plotting. Anything else to add to that one?
All I was going to say is that for me, honestly, because we've seen it pretty big gap in between each other. When I went to see it opening weekend, I mean, I'd already heard, I think opening night, so I'd already heard a couple days of really, really negative buzz. And I will say, when I left the theater, I actually didn't think it was as bad as people said, because it was pretty negative. I mean, we're being very negative right now. But then, after I've had more time to mull it over and think about a lot of the things we've just talked about, it's just not a good movie.
It's not.
And the biggest thing that probably bothered me out of everything we've talked about is the trailer told you everything. There was not much left to be surprised at or even enjoy, at that matter. So, all in all, wait till it's in Redbox, rent it, I guess.
And even the end, I mean, if we're doing spoilers, I mean, obviously you're bringing back Superman, so why bother killing him? I mean, why do we do that? I mean, TV shows are stopping that, except for The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. But I mean, it used to be the big thing. Oh, cliffhanger, kill somebody. Well, everybody does it now, and it's just,
That's it. That's all we got.
Why don't we recommend some stuff that we actually did like?
Let's do that.
End it on a happy note. Let's get to some recos.
All right, Greg, we've heard enough of this negative talk for the day. Let's give the viewers something positive. What do you got to recommend this week?
Surprise. It's an album.
Yes!
It is. So forget about Dawn of Justice. Buy the new Rival Sons album, Hollow Bones. Crank it up, blast it, have a good time. They're one of my new favorite rock bands. They definitely have a classic rock sound, but they're very original. It's like a mix of Zeppelin and The Doors. I've talked about them before. But they don't sound cliche, they sound fresh and new, and they've got some newer stuff on this. They always try something a little different in each album. the tracks that I would talk about the most, Hollow Bones, obviously title track, Hollow Bones Part 2, which is near the end, and Black Coffee is my personal favorite.
Cool.
Tied Down, I think, is another. It's so good. Check it out. And if you like that, then look up my favorite album of theirs, which is Pressure and Time. I think that was their second.
Nice.
But yeah, crank it up. Hollow Bones just came out this past week. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so as the summer movie season starts really heating up, we've got the new release, Finding Dory. It's been 14 years since the original Finding Nemo was released. This is one I'm really excited to check out. Pixar seems to deliver almost every time. So I'm just kind of curious if this new one's going to live up to its predecessor. It looks great, but we'll have to check it out and see.
What are you talking about? Because she can't remember anything. See what I did?
I did,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So with that, I'm looking forward to it too. And if we get a chance to watch that, that'll be a future episode, so you can get our opinions on it. 'Cause I think we're both looking forward to it. My kids are.
Yep.
So I'm all about it. So where can they find you on the old interwebs?
Yeah. So you can find me simply on Facebook and Twitter at Dan Gaines. Please remember to email us at rewindheroes@gmail.com. Where can I find you, Greg?
You can find me at gcompton007 on the Twitterverse. And so I think that's a wrap.
Cool.
Until next time, be kind.
And please rewind.